Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It's Steven, and we're actually back. I'm here with MTarget.
Hi, I'm dead from work, so I'll be a little bit slow today.
Yeah, that's fine. I've got a new microphone. As you noticed, I flipped up my headset microphone because I don't need it because I'm actually talking with this right down here, which you can see a little bit of the top of. It's a nice new microphone, higher quality. My snowball that I had in the Tim Hortons mug died. It sucked, but I've moved on. Got a brand new Yeti. Bought it literally an hour ago. So you're going to be hearing me. It probably sounds better, and that's great. But we're here to talk about the TI8 qualifiers, what happened, who won, and how great my predictions were. So, do you want to go region by region or just everything?
Let's do region by region because we can talk a little bit about some of the stuff that went down there between your picks if you wanted to.
Let's go with the shittiest region first, South America. It was competitive.
I can't argue with that. Not after what Thunder pulled.
Yeah, I mean, Thunder Predator, a team, and this is going to be an inexact metric, but still a pretty powerful one. Thunder Predator, a team that had 3 players who don't even have Wikipedia pages, made it to the grand finals, were ultimately disqualified from the event because one of their players was found to be using armlet toggle macros. That was what it was.
Macros.
And Meepo macros. Ooh.
And there's evidence that he's been doing it for over 3 years now. Now, again, that evidence is a little bit shaky. But on top of all of this, before we even get to qualifiers, because nobody in South America was able to qualify straight. All 6 teams were open qualifiers, and Thunder Predator tried to pull some shit against Pain Gaming and other teams involving mass disconnects and some other things like that, and that already kind of put them on people's watch list. A lot of people were like, all right, what's going on here? Like, these guys are being kind of scummy. We don't like them. And then the Meepo Poof game happened, and that was the one that got him because like frame perfect armlet toggling is hard to tell unless you go and look at the combat logs. Meepo Poof, you can tell because even if it's fractional, there's still going to be a little bit of a change. When they all poof at the exact same time, it's literally impossible. So, and Valve came in and stepped in, and it was funny because everybody's like, oh, what are the admins going to say? And the admin's like, we're going up to the big boys on this one. And you know that if Valve's coming in, they're going to be swinging.
Yeah. And yeah, that got them disqualified. And the response on Twitter, obviously I'm going by social media / Reddit translations. It seemed like Thunder Predator was actually a little bit indignant about getting disqualified. Am I right about that?
Yeah, I mean, from what I gleaned off of that, because most of my Twitter feed was people going, yeah, serves them right. But
yeah, there was very little sympathy to be had.
Yeah, I mean, especially when this is something that's been established in a lot of different ways. And yeah, people can argue, well, it's a gray area with macros. No. Macros in your pubs, maybe. Macros in your pro games, definitely a no-no. Like people have admitted, well, like I have like some invoker macros, like Nahaz admitted to using the QQERD one, or QQWRD, which is Ghost Walk. So you can literally on his mouse.
You couldn't even come up with that off the top of your head.
Dude, I don't play Invoker. But anyways, okay, so like, yeah, you admit that you've done it in like your pubs, but like that's different. Like when you're learning the hero, then hey, I'm gonna make myself a god tier Huskar and Meepo player by binding some buttons. Like that's especially when Valve back in 2014 or 2015 issued a bug fix that made it so you couldn't bind multiple commands to the same button, because that was what did it originally, and people have found other ways around it since then.
Yeah, there was kind
in terms of you macro outside of the game instead of inside of the game.
Yeah, there was a little bit of an ability to macro inside the game, kind of.
Yeah,
which they, like you said, removed with time.
Yeah. So, and that actually came with Source 2, and that was part of the problem is that when Dota 2 Reborn came out, they had to find all these new bugs.
Yeah.
You know, the engine's weird like that. It's literally Source 2, so yeah.
Yeah.
So anyways,
Anyway.
Pain played well. Like
Pain looked
getting
solid.
to the game. Pain looked solid. I'm still a little bit concerned about comms at TI. Because my understanding is that basically HFN, Tavo, King RD, and Duster play a 4v5, and Weehaw plays a pub game.
Yeah.
So that, and cause like they do some pings, they do some whatever, like they kind of are learning some language, like call outs, not even like really language, but like just knowing, oh, blah 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 is like kind of this, or everybody yells Roche,
Yeah.
so you know, that kind of thing. But like I don't think that doing this 4v5 shenanigans will take them very far at TI, but obviously that's for another day.
No, I mean, we'll ultimately see, and it wouldn't be the craziest thing if they end up getting hot at the right time. And
This is true.
I mean, and who was it last year? TI8 Infamous or TI7 Infamous?
I think it was Infamous. Yeah, because Infamous was the team that was doing pretty good.
Yeah, and they did clear the group stages, and I would say that that's about where we should expect Pain Gaming.
Yeah, again,
I mean,
I'm interested to see what they do.
Yeah,
and the meta favoring them is a huge question. I do think that, I mean, when you look at a roster and you say, yeah, their weakest player is probably their support, that's a good thing.
That's true.
And when I
mean, we is still a character. I think that we has really shown that, yeah, he basically, not necessarily still a top tier player, but still very, very good.
Yeah, and certainly
he's doing them a favor.
Yeah, and King RD and HFN are both great, like really damn, probably I would put them in contention for like competitive with top tier players from around the world for their slots. I'm not saying they're like number one for their slot in the world by any stretch of the imagination, but I do think that HFN is really
they can hang. They can hang.
Yeah, he can hang, and same thing with King RD. Tavo as a offlaner, no offlaner can hang with anybody right now because offlane just sucks. So
yeah.
You can't judge that metric.
Yeah, there's cause to be a little bit hopeful when it comes to Pain Gaming in TI8. Yep. Don't get ahead of your. Can't really get ahead of yourself though. So, SG Esports came in second place. They looked solid. Ultimately, actually, made it a best of 5, like a full best of 5. Almost got over on Pain Gaming. Couldn't quite bring it home.
And they looked good. They really
did look good. They were playing a hot game. They were playing hot.
Oh, that is a Brazilian US team too.
Yes. Yeah, that is worth noting. Like I said, Weehaw from formerly Digital Chaos is currently on Pain Gaming. SG Esports has Flea and Stan King. Stan King you probably know. Flea if you don't. Francis Lee. He was Wheel Wreck while whistling. He was on VG Gaming Day Storm for a hot minute. And he's, hopped around on pretty much every given tier 2 NA team you can think of.
And he did compete in Southeast Asia for like a hot second too, but that was a little while back. So
yeah.
But anyway, he's one of those guys that's known to region hop.
That was the important stuff from South America. CIS. Let's go in order of interest to me.
To you? Okay.
CIS was very competitive.
I was going to say CIS was competitive, and I really enjoyed watching it.
Yeah, it was competitive and good. Like, I was really surprised because, once Navi got knocked out, that kind of everybody is quietly a Navi fan, and once they washed it.
Yeah, no, I agree. I'm a Navi fan too, but I loved it when Navi got knocked out. Just from the standpoint of everybody starts freaking out and going, "Oh no, what's gonna happen? Like Valve's gonna do a whatever invite," and it's like Navi wasn't at TI last year. Yeah, Navi's not gonna be at TI. They're
gonna bring Dendy back to lose to a bot made by Elon Musk again.
Yeah, see, it might happen.
Ugh, like
we're not gonna talk about that bot tonight. It's another show.
Okay, so Fly to Moon in my book was the clear-cut favorite, 100% slam dunk, no question. They had it, no doubt.
And they also changed names partway through. So in case you're confused,
they got picked up by One Strike.
Yeah.
But I figured that they were going to just kind of run through everybody. They did not run through everybody. They did win, but they had to work for it. They went 6-1 group stages, but Team Spirit looked really good. Espada, which kind of came out of nowhere. They have a variety of CIS players that you'd probably recognize. They looked very good.
They really did. For those who maybe don't pay that much attention, Espada had ILTW 633, who used to be BZZ. I think he still is BZZ. I don't know totally. And then Misha are the guys that speak out to me. Also Nyx and Immersion, but Immersion doesn't have a Wikipedia page, so obviously not that important.
Yeah, and they looked very good. Like, and Double Dimension was the final team to make it out of the group stages. Again, they have a bunch of different players: King R, Pikachu, Vanscore, various guys from various CIS teams. They've been on Team Empire. They've been on Fantastic Five. They've been on Gambit. All those other teams that you know. They looked solid. And past that, not everybody looked solid, which is surprising because Vega Squadron went 0-6 in Vega stages. They look bad.
Dude, it breaks my heart because I'm a huge Vega fan. I kind of liked Vega before, and then they picked up Kipspol, and I'm a huge fan of her analysis work. And normally, like, when she gets picked up by a team, their drafting gets so much better. But you can see in Vega Squadron, it's almost like somebody doesn't want to follow the...
Well, I mean, she wasn't even actually with the team for that, was she?
No,
I know she was doing BTS stuff.
I don't remember where Kipspol was. I don't think she was with the team, but Kips was again, from what I've seen, she's great with like coming up with whatever. And when you watch the Vega Squadron drafts, you see something that makes a lot of sense in their first like 2, maybe 3 picks, and then they just throw it out the window, and you're like, what the hell are you doing? And they got outdrafted time and time again, and it looked like they outdrafted themselves. And that's just, that's something that the team has to work on, whether it be the organization, the analyst / coach, and the players, whether it be the players. You got to fix that before you can even get into the game decisions, because if you're gonna lose the draft every time,
good
luck.
Okay, yeah, if she just checked out her Twitter, it seems like she did do some stuff with Vega during, but yeah, they looked really bad. Long story short. Team Empire didn't look great either. Gambit Esports didn't look great either. And those are, CIS staples. Those are some of the teams that
Empire and Gambit look really rough.
Yeah, but yeah, they all washed out. The other one that washed out was AFK for 20 min AFK less.
That was a team that we kind of expected to not do well. To be fair,
it's a random stack.
Baby, Sunico, but it's a stack. It's Sunico's stack, so...
Yeah. I mean, Sonico isn't really a guy you can expect to come up with a top tier stack, and
especially in CIS.
And yeah, I mean, just in general, you're not going to.
I'm not saying that like you can't make a good stack. It's just
it's also not to say Sonico is bad. It's just the stacks are bad when they're going to compete against teams, especially teams like Fly to Moon / Windstrike, who actually fucking almost won Epicenter.
Dude, yeah. And my favorite thing, super tangent here really quickly, is that every time Fly to Moon starts playing in a tournament and starts doing well, Fly to Moon was a reference about Bitcoin going to the moon and making people rich. Every time Fly to Moon started playing and doing well, Bitcoin starts going up. Every time. It's hilarious because like there's no correlation, but they match. And
you say that there's no correlation. But
okay, there may be correlation, but there certainly better not be causation.
Yeah, we'll see. But it's looking like if they're winning, you should invest in cryptocurrency. But anyway, so they ended up winning again, but they ended up getting their double dimension Espada and Espada again to take the CIS spot. Again, Espada made them work for it. And Espada looked really good, and there was a lot to like about those teams in CIS. And it's kind of a shame they didn't either come together or break out sooner, because Espada genuinely looked good enough that I could see them beating a lot of teams. And like if they were in the DPC tournaments, I could have seen them putting up some points.
I agree with putting up some points, but I really do think that they would have been like third, fourth in a lot of events.
Yeah, for sure.
Again, like it depends on, gelling and everything else and hot and cold, but that's again, a story for another day maybe. But again, looked good, looked like they were pretty decent for where they were at. Next, do you want to do Europe or Southeast Asia?
In terms of quality, I would say Europe, because Southeast Asia, actually, again, we're going by my hierarchy of interest, and I found Southeast Asia to be surprisingly interesting.
Yeah. I was Southeast Asia, I was unable to watch. I did watch some of Europe, but the storylines behind Southeast Asia are fairly compelling.
Yes. But so Europe ultimately won by OG. No surprise there. They have rebuilt their roster pretty darn well. They brought back Anna. They added Thompson, who he kind of came out of nowhere, right?
Oh, so in his first entry on Wikipedia is in 2017, mid 2017 for SFT Esports, and then on Five Anchors No Captain.
Right, that's right.
Five Anchors No Captain has a lot of people on him. But Thompson is a guy who, for the last couple of years, because I personally do enjoy watching, especially depending on how my work schedule works, morning streams, which means European streamers. And you'll see Thompson in a lot of top tier games, and he was very good. And so they put Anna in core. Anna did some weird stuff in core, but he technically played position 1. Thompson played mid. And then Mad moved to off lane of all places, which I think is hilarious because the dude's been just in this season coach 4, 5 off lane mid.
He's
literally done all of those for OG.
Yeah, he's being stupidly versatile.
And his off lane did look good, so that's nice because his mid lane looked like shit.
And yeah, No Tail playing 5.
No Tail's a surprisingly good 5, but then again, that's because No Tail's a good shot caller. So being able to just kind of throw him on,
he's pretty good at Dota in general.
Yeah, noticed a little bit. He's tied for most career wins or something like that.
Yeah, he's pretty good. But yeah, OG. If they wanted to make the case that they are a top tier team who can make noise at TI8, they needed to really run through these groups, and they did. That was exactly what they needed. They went 7-0 in groups. They ended up 2-0ing Team Kingwin, 2-1ing Wind and Rain, and then 3-1ing Wind and Rain to get the spot in Europe. Wind and Rain made up of Ritsu, Bryle, Forev, Milan, and Kitrak. Again,
also known as Ritsu stack.
Yep, they're a good stack though.
The thing is that Wind and Rain was not a European team by any stretch of the imagination. The only person
they got a Bosnian.
Yeah, I was gonna say
Milan
Milan is from Bosnia, so you've got one. Although he could also play in CIS if he wanted to. And then I think Forev is living in Europe right now, so he's got about this much to go for him. But then you've got Ritsu, who is about as NA Dota as they come, and Bryle, who is hardcore NA pub player. Yeah, really good. And then Kitrak, who's
they were like, man, I guess DC basically after they dumped Moo, after they dumped Moo, in terms of how not really NA they were. So the other notes from this in Europe were Blinkpool actually looks pretty good. Blinkpool made up of Madara, Keezer, Kezu, Misery, and Saksa came together towards the end. Looked really solid though. That's a stack I could see going somewhere if they stick together. And I mean, that's obviously a very talented team. Madara and Kaiser were on the second place Boston Major team with Adfinem.
I want to relive that event, not gonna lie.
It was pretty fun. It was pretty great. And Adfinem, it's sad how they fell off a cliff after that, but
it happens.
Misery and Saksa obviously made it to TI6 grand finals. They're pretty good. And Kezu has been around for a long time, and there's a reason for that. So that's a good stack. They acquitted themselves well. Ultimately didn't win. Could see them going somewhere in the future.
Yeah. My quick 2 cents on this whole how things rounded out. The invited teams, Kingwin, Final Tribe, Kingdra, and Singularity, Kingwin proved that they're still a really good team. They finished round robin 4-3. Then they went up against Blinkpool and OG. Like the OG game, it really felt like that OG game just completely demoralized them.
Yeah.
So that was a little rough. But Kingwin's still looking good. Still glad to see the polls together. Final Tribe is still that Sweden stack. Not looking hot this event, but whatever.
Yeah.
Kingdra, that talk about one of those things where it's like, well, these guys are technically qualified to be in qualifiers because they're, roster locked, but it's a cancel sexy Bembo stack.
Truly awful.
Yeah, and then Singularity Esports also did not look too great. The only other team that really disappointed me was Alliance. They did go 3-4, which is not awful, but the games that I caught, at least, it was like, what the hell are you doing?
Yeah, I found myself kind of more emotionally invested in Alliance's success than I was expecting to, because even when, peak Alliance back 5 years ago, I knew they were
something like that.
5 years ago, they won TI3. Yeah, so 5 years ago. Even that, I was okay with them, and I kind of had that, anybody but Chinese mentality. Even though that was silly because Chinese, basically Alliance was basically the jungle version of Chinese for Protect 1 Dota. But anyways, I found myself really rooting for them, even though I had no real reason to. And I got kind of disappointed when they washed out of groups. Don't know why.
I thought it was TI3. That's my bad. I always forget that Navi won TI1. That event really doesn't.
Well, it's definitely different from the other 6.
The other 6, because I when you say TI, early TI, the first one that comes to mind is Invictus Gaming beating Navi in 2012. Yeah, and that might also just be because that's when I came into Dota, was the end of 2012, and so I caught the the documentary and all that stuff, and that was great. But then you go from there. But obviously Alliance kind of in a weird spot now. But Europe showed that they're okay, not great. Obviously, the top talent in Europe was already invited.
Yeah.
So there's that. Same thing with CIS, by the way. Just putting that out there. We'll get to my little soapbox about that in a minute.
Long story short, the big note is that OG might be a real contender at TI8. They looked good enough to make me think of them as not really somebody that's going to be an easy out.
Yeah.
And, that was a surprise because, again, they just lost 2 of their players to EG a month ago. And, they're looking like a force again, which is good. OG is OG is a brand now, and I hope they stick around. And this definitely helps that. China. We already talked about that. Right?
We talked about it before the stream.
We talked about it before the stream. Let's talk about China then. Invictus Gaming, I figured was going to be able to, when I made my picks on the video before, I went with FTD to qualify because they had such a hot run through the group stages. They ultimately went 6-1, which is really good since, the Chinese qualifiers weren't really stacked, but they're still not bad teams.
They were heavy. They're not necessarily stacked, but they were hard to go through.
Yes, and I mean, even with Young Dumb, it's got Ferrari on it. Even LFY, that's still LFY. They got a lot of names on there. CDEC, that was their meh. But IG Vitality, solid team. Keen Gaming, we've seen them pop up at actual tournaments. And ultimately, the first qualifying spot didn't go to any of them. It went to out of nowhere Team Serenity. And that was a pretty big surprise.
Yeah, so for those who are wondering, how out of nowhere, Serenity has 5 players, all of whom the highest they've been on before wasn't even a tier 2 team. It was an academy team, which maybe they can be tier 2, maybe they can't, but they were literally on teams that were designed to, hey, scrim against our good players.
Yeah. To give you examples, GGG was on eHome Keen. Then from there, you get a lot of,
That's right. He technically had been on a pedigreed team before.
eHome Keen though. That's
No, I thought he was on eHome and Keen. But
no, he was on eHome Keen when
one of the
Keen
players
was still, but like CDEC Avengers.
Yeah. Oh yeah, no, he went
Wings
he went
Red
to Keen though when Keen was good. But yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways, sorry, continue.
Yeah, you got players from Wings Red. You got players from FTD. You got players from Void Boys, the crappy, more recent versions of Tong Fu. Those kinds of teams. We're not talking about the actual teams that qualify for anybody. These are the feeder teams for the real teams, and it's a stack of those guys, and they ended up winning the damn thing.
How did they win? They were flexing on them.
They looked strong. They looked very strong, and that it didn't come out of. Actually, no, it kind of did come out of nowhere. I mean, that kind of came out of nowhere, but damn, they earned it. Second place in the qualifiers, so they also get to go to TI, is Invictus Gaming. That's not too surprising. That was the clear favorite. I ended up picking them to be the second qualifier because I thought FTD was hot enough in the group stages to take that first spot. But, that's still by far that's a team that's actually gotten results at big tournaments. That's a team that has a bunch of previous TI players, most notably Aggressive, who was on the TI5 CEC. They got Q, they got Baboka, they got a lot of guys who have been around and are very good and came in second place. They'll go to TI8, and they'll probably be competitive there. Probably, maybe not as good as they were at TI7, but again, they're not going to be easy outs. They're definitely not going to be easy outs. Next up, Southeast Asia. Agreed? Or do you want to jump into North America?
No, I think we'll do NA last, and then we can go right into my pedestal thing.
Okay. So, yeah, there was a lot going on in terms of the SEA qualifiers. It just had a lot going on. There was Entity Gaming, which is helmed by Black and a bunch of other European players, but they also had Joe Beasy, who's apparently from the Philippines, which gave them the in for being a CIS team or a SEA team. They looked very good. Then you have.
I think Besta Joe's been in the region. Same thing with. Black lives in Singapore now. So.
Oh, okay. But yeah, so you had the TNC Tigers, which is captained by Rose/1437/Theban, and that was a really solid team. That it's got a lot of names on it, but they kind of came out of nowhere, and they looked really solid. TNC actually won the group stages, which TNC is good, but they haven't really had the consistency to really look at them as a top tier team. But they looked really phenomenal in the group stages. Picking up a lot of interesting wins was Battle Arena Elites, which includes a lot of recognizable names in Ohio, Yamate, Winter. Like these are players, or Winter is the coach technically, but it's a solid stack of SEA players. And obviously, Fnatic was the big guys on the block. They almost qualified for TI8 in the actual DPC season, but didn't quite get it. So they were, had that top status for this, and they actually looked kind of shaky initially. They ended up qualifying they cleared group stages with just a 4-3 record. Nearly got bumped in favor of either Boom ID or Battle Arena Elite. It was actually pretty dicey for them, even though they were the on paper best team by a mile.
Well, okay, so they lost to really quickly. Their 3 losses were to TNC Predator, TNC Tigers, and then Sterling Global Dragons. And my understanding of that Global Dragons game, I couldn't watch that one thanks to time zones, but it was a little dicey. That whole series, I should say, was just kind of like, what?
Yeah, it was a very competitive one, and the fact that it was the double TNCs that ultimately won the groups, with TNC Tigers in particular looking really strong. They ended up going 5-2 as opposed to Predators 6-1. But TNC Tigers, that was a really interesting team. And ultimately fell short, which really made me feel bad. And I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah. I mean, so here's my.
Oh, and yeah, just real quick, a couple. There's all in terms of like the actual storylines. Obviously, there's all the stuff with Fnatic. Ohio again on Battle Arena Elites got bumped by Fnatic earlier this year in favor of Universe. There was a storyline there. There's the long history between 1437/Rose and Eternal Envy. They were on Team NP last year. The TNC Tigers versus TNC that was really interesting. There's a little bit of that was a rivalry nobody was really expecting.
Yeah.
And also Black just being Black. He's a lovable dude. And still playing pretty darn good Dota. So there's a lot going on, and there was a lot of fun to be had in the Southeast Asian qualifiers from that. But anyway, what were you talking about?
Oh, I was gonna say I'm sort of torn on Fnatic because they're this team that on the one hand feels like they just kind of shoehorned themselves into Southeast Asia in order to get a spot or whatever, but then on the other hand, you've got Abed and DJ playing out of their freaking minds.
Yes, you do.
You've got Universe, who in my opinion he's probably one of my favorite players in Dota. Both as a person and a player. Like he's a really cool guy. And then watching Eternal Envy play and beaming about that is just always a good time. And with Fnatic qualifying, Universe and AUI 2000, two members of the Evil Geniuses TI winning team, are going. And there was this piece of me that was rooting for Fnatic to get in. Excuse me, Optic to get in with Zai and PPD. And then VGJ Storm to get in. Or wait, no, who was the other?
Fear.
Oh wait, no, Fear's not playing.
Fear,
right now,
Fear's the odd man out in that.
Yeah, but I was rooting for like Optic, somebody else, and like VGJ Storm, so that because I like VGJ Storm, so that way Evil Geniuses don't get to go, but a significant portion of their winning roster do.
Yeah, that would. There's humor.
That would have been great for the memes, but
yeah.
Anyways,
so again, as you mentioned, Fnatic was ultimately the first winner. TNC Predator managed to narrowly overcome TNC Tigers to be the second team. When push came to shove, Fnatic kind of styled on everybody in the playoffs. They 2-0'd the TNC Tigers, and they 2-0'd TNC Predators, and got that first spot. Entity Gaming almost got over on TNC Tigers, but couldn't quite. And yeah, the playoffs for the SEA qualifiers were very fun.
Yep.
And that was SEA. Finally, North America. The one that everybody probably wants to hear the most of, because we're probably anybody who's listening to us is probably from North America.
Yeah, but also like NA had some like interesting storylines. You've got several teams that
also pretty easily, in my opinion, the most stacked. Like in terms of actually having top level teams. Because like Optic Gaming,
like I was thinking maybe China, but I think that at this point I agree. Because you've got Optic Immortals, EG Complexity, and VGJ Storm. You got 5 teams right there fighting for 3 spots, and all of them had the body of work to say, "Hey, we deserved something to a degree."
I mean, like if I'm talking about like this, and again, this is not really a scientific metric, but teams that could make top 8 at TI8. Optic Gaming, I think easily could. VG Gaming J Storm, I think easily could.
Definitely.
EG, there's enough talent there that if they gel.
Honestly, all you need is Sumail to just beast mode at the right time. And the fact that Arteezy can go 0-2 in the first like minute of a game and then just flex on him as Morphling, like, okay, keep going. Like Arteezy clearly has trained in the salt mines.
Yep. And Complexity Gaming, that new Complexity Gaming lineup,
dude. That's I'm liking Complexity right now.
Yeah, I could just, and then Immortals. Not I wouldn't say that they're going to be top 8. I wouldn't necessarily even pick them to get out of the groups of TI8. but that's still a solid lineup of 5 players.
Yeah, Immortals are definitely one of those teams that, I mean, Immortals are mostly that MVP team.
Yeah.
MP, Velo, or MP, Febby, and Dubu. And then you got Velo and
Rio, yeah.
Rio, yeah, that's right. So anyways, interesting squad. The event, group stages were interesting, not like, oh my god, amazing, but interesting. The thing that comes down to it is the fact that we had, like, the good part is that VGJ Storm, Optic Gaming, and Complexity all had to go into a first or third tiebreaker because they all went 6-1. And I watched the game before it where VGJ Storm lost, and it's like, well, shit, now we gotta compete and do this round robin thing.
Yeah.
And then I was able to catch VGJ Storm dumpstering Optic, which was kind of hilarious because they just, I mean, VGJ Storm was like, all right, fine, gonna get this out of the way, we want to go to bed, and they just murdered kids. And so VGJ Storm went 2-0, Optic and Complexity both lost to VGJ Storm, and then Optic beat Complexity. So VGJ Storm got out of groups and went straight to TI. And then you had Optic, Complexity, EG, and Immortals, although Immortals actually went 2-5, and they had to play Team Baidu in a 5th-6th tiebreaker to win that.
Yep.
And that's just, I mean, that's rough.
That is rough.
Immortals.
And their
The
wins
ones they beat were Leviathan and just the squad.
Yeah, it's not like they got a sneaky win over any of the good teams. So, yeah, they snuck in, but VG Gaming J Storm, like you mentioned, won the round robin to become the first TI qualifier. And then we're bagging on Immortals, but they end up pulling off a huge upset over Optic Gaming.
Oh,
just to kick off the playoffs.
They played pretty well in the playoffs. Their game versus EG was a little bit rough, but 100% agree there. They came out swinging, and they swung hard. And
they nearly, like, the game 3 between Optic and Immortals was like, it's one of those games where you're like, oh my god, this is done 100%. Again and again and again. Where there's like 4 moments when you're thinking, okay, the game is over now, and something happens to just swing it back around and put another team in there, and it was just such an entertaining. It was such an entertaining series. Game 3 in particular was a really amazing game, and especially like the big thing that happened was everybody on Optic was killed. Zai was the last man standing, playing as Clockwork.
I was so glad I caught that.
Yeah. Optic,
honestly, go back and watch that.
Yeah, Immortals was pushing down mid, going for the death ball, going for the death push, and what happens is, as Clockwork Zai rocket flares one creep wave down, then goes to the river basically, and pulls the creep wave all the way back to Immortals' base to buy like 40 seconds of time for his team to respawn, and they're all dead. It was just Zai. He basically single-handedly manufactured a way for his team to survive. It was,
and the thing that was crazy, it was like, do the Immortals have to chase him? But in watching it in the moment, you're like, yes, kill his ass, just kill him, and then like you think about it after the fact, and you're like,
could they have
what were you thinking? And then you look back and go, wait a second, I was saying the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, it was, like I said, if it was one of those games where it seemed like everything was done, it was over, it was just academic, like 5 times, and it swings back and forth, and it just makes for a really entertaining series. And yeah. Meanwhile, on the other side of the playoff bracket, Evil Geniuses, they went 4-3 in groups. Good, not great, but they looked like the odd man out between VG Gaming J Storm, Complexity, and Optic. But then they just fucking body Complexity. Dude,
that was rough. I caught again a little bit of that one of those 2 games, and it was like, okay, Sumail, I see you.
Yeah, and then they make it past Complexity. They're in the winners finals to get they go up against Immortals to determine the second North American qualifier for TI8. And again, they body Immortals. And like you mentioned,
the game. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
It was Sumail. Like Sumail what like the reaction on the BTS stream was basically, yeah, Sumail's back.
Yeah. That was also the one where Arteezy was, it was literally died, TP back to lane. Okay, fine, like whatever. Dies immediately afterward, has to walk back to lane. Dude still manages to get up on like top net worth not that long after, and it's like, what? And again, somebody commented about Arteezy gets focused in pubs like nobody's business. Like it's almost criminal. Like as much as like when I'm like looking at streamers, I'm like, come on, like you need to expect to get focused a little bit when you're the pro or the streamer or whatever. Like even for some pleb like me, just kind of have to accept it. But like it's bad for Arteezy, and the fact that Arteezy's just taken that and learned from it is awesome. And they did. They beat Immortals and they made it look easy. Then moving on.
Yep.
To the losers bracket.
Yeah, that it made me Optic Gaming, Complexity face off in first round of the losers bracket. Optic 2-0'd them, and that just really stung. Again,
that series felt a little bit better than a 2-0.
Yeah, it wasn't the worst 2-0 in the world. It wasn't like Immortals versus EG, but I was kind of rooting for Complexity because it's such a staple of the North American scene. How can you not love Moo? How can you not
just outside?
Yeah, and they had their chance and sand through their fingers, and that made me feel bad. Then they end up going up against Immortals. Immortals fell back to earth after that first series with Optic. Optic they 2-0'd them, and they are your final qualifier. So
yeah,
and I'm gonna bring up real quick on my screen. I'm gonna de-screen share and paint. Okay, so in the interest of full disclosure for how I did my predictions, I showed you on the last video we did. I had, in terms of me picking who would qualify and who wouldn't, I was 9 out of 10. That's pretty good, I think. FTD being the only one who, ended up not shaking out. I gave my explanation for that. But everybody else I had right. I ended up getting 0 points for the North American qualifiers because I didn't predict the correct order, which is kind of silly, but whatever. I still had all 3 teams right, had Europe right, had CIS right. Oh wait, no, that's China. Had China half and half, Pain Gaming, Windstrike, Fnatic, TNC. So 9 out of 10. You should make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. And hit the little bell icon so you get all of the other prediction and fantasy shit when that pops up.
Yeah, because we tend to be pretty on that for that stuff, just in terms of like getting on it and getting it out there
and getting good.
I mean, we either disagree and we split it 50-50, or we're pretty close to right most of the time. So we know what you're doing.
They know. They just saw my predictions. They know.
Yeah, they know. They can also go back and watch last year's VODs and see us predict decently well.
That's true. I actually looked that up. It was our second podcast after TI7, and I said, gun to your head, I want you to pick who wins TI8. Do you remember who you chose?
I chose Liquid.
Yes, you did. Do you remember who I chose?
You chose... Wasn't IG, was it?
Close. No, but no.
No, it was
LGD or LFY.
LGD. That's right.
Yeah. So, just saying.
But anyway,
we're both looking pretty good right now.
Both feeling pretty good right now, at least.
We should.
So I'm gonna pedestal, or I think we're pretty much set on invites or on invites.
Yeah. Do your soapboxing.
Okay. So when qualifying slots were announced, and it was announced that NA got 3, China and Southeast Asia both got 2, South America got 1, and then CIS and Europe each got 1 as well. Holy shit! Europe and CIS got pissed, and they were. I understood why they were mad and everything else, and okay, cool. But they were livid, and they wanted to know why wasn't this out earlier, blah, 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 whatever. And here is why it wasn't out sooner. Because of the way that DPC works, Valve has no freaking clue or where the 8 teams are going to be from for their invited teams. And so for the invited teams, we have CIS, Europe, China, Southeast Asia. So that means that Southeast Asia will have a total of three teams competing. We will see Europe have 3 teams competing. We will see CIS with 2 teams competing, and we will see North America with, drum roll please, 3 teams competing. So when you break that down, does it really sound that bad?
Yeah, I think that's a pretty accurate representation of the overall talent pools of each region.
Yeah.
I will say in terms of the actual qualifier, like quality of the teams they're in, like I said, I could see 4 of the teams in the NA qualifiers actually making like top 8 runs at TI8.
Yeah.
You don't disagree too much at the very least.
No, I think that they certainly could make an argument for them being there. CIS, sure. Do I think that CIS maybe could have had one more? Espada was good. I would not, but
we could have bumped South America, is what I'm saying.
No, dude, I want to see Pain go at this. Wind and Rain looked good, but again, you've already got Liquid and Secret, so you really don't need 4 invites unless you're China.
With how things shook out, I do feel a little bit bad about the fact that CIS only got 1. Because like I said, Espada looked very good. Double Dimension looked good.
But going into it, though, going, CIS is technically a new region because prior to this, CIS was just a part of Europe.
Yeah.
And
Fly to Moon, there's a very real possibility that they're like an actual elite team right now.
Yeah.
And past them, again, Espada looked really good, Double Dimension looked really good, and Team Spirit ultimately looked really good. So I do, like I said, I feel a little bit bad about the fact that they only got 1 invite or 1 qualifier spot.
Like,
that definitely that's
deserve it, but especially because Navi didn't get through.
Yeah.
Like, if Navi made it through and then almost made it to TI, okay, then we can talk. But Navi had such a poor showing in opens that all of the orgs that aren't Virtus Pro, Gambit didn't make it out of group stages. We talked about this. Vega, did horribly. Double Dimension, who was considered a tier 2 CIS team, didn't do too hot. So okay, fine. And then Team Empire, one of those like maybe a hope for CIS.
Yeah. Yeah, so, I mean, it was. Yeah, this is all hindsight, like 100%. Like I think Valve allocated their qualifier spots accurately at the time. I can see CIS being a little bit grumpy with how things shook out because, again, Espada, Double Dimension, Team Spirit all looked very good. But, again, hindsight.
Yep.
North America, they should have gotten 3 spots regardless. Southeast Asia, I could honestly see them only having 1 because I feel like Mineski and Fnatic, and then it's a pretty good drop. But, again, TNC. Can't complain about them getting in. And yeah, with China, I really don't think that you can justify them having 3 spots because ultimately you'll look at the teams.
Didn't they only have 2?
Yeah, sorry. Or the hypothetical 3rd spot that they could have had.
Fair enough.
They had 2, but the case you can make for having them have 3 qualifier spots gets kind of shaky when you look at if it's not Serenity and IG, who comes in after that? King Gaming?
Well, I mean, according to this, it should have been LGDFY.
Yeah, and I mean, LFY is good.
Actually, no, because if they had 3, what would have happened is FTD would have qualified out of the group stage. So you would have been right there. And then you would have had Keen Gaming in, which obviously completely shakes up the playoffs. But in the playoffs, you had Serenity, Invictus Gaming, and then 3rd was LGDFY. So maybe. But again,
we've also got a pretty good sample size for how good Keen and LFY are, and IG Vitality. again, I'm not feeling too bad about the fact that they only got 2 qualifying spots.
Yeah, especially with the 4 invites.
Also,
Don't get me
like,
wrong.
okay, if Optic Game, like, let's say Optic Gaming and VG Gaming J Storm, let's say that Optic did get a direct invite, then yes.
Yeah, no, totally. And if that was the case, give that other spot to China, because I want to see Thunder, because then you would have had Thunder, Serenity, and IG make it through, and that would have been great. Hypothetically speaking,
I just knocked over my pop filter.
Good job.
So,
in my opinion, at least. Also, by the way, really quickly, thoughts on the fact that Vici Gaming is going to have to give up is going to have to give up. Oh, actually, VGJ is going to have to give up 1 team. Vici Gaming might not have to give up anybody, or they're going to have to give up 2, depending on how you think about that. Thoughts on that whole thing?
That's going to be very interesting, and I love that ruling.
Just use that as a prop now.
And it honestly, straight up, it's not even a matter of what.
You got a little too close in it.
Oh, sorry.
It's okay.
Yeah, it's not even a matter of the actual. It's not even a matter of the conflict of interest thing, because I don't honestly think that's going to be that much of an issue. I could see how it could be an issue. I could see why they would want to prevent it. I don't think it's I don't think that there's like a huge game fixing issue with top tier Dota.
Particularly when you look at the in this case, you've got Vici Gaming, VGJ Thunder, and VGJ Storm. So yeah. VGJ Thunder is literally just Jeremy Lin going, hey, I want to own some Dota teams, but I need a little bit of infrastructure to back me up. He goes to Vici Gaming, or Vici Gaming goes to him, depending on which story you hear, and they're like, hey, you can be Vici Gaming J, and, you know, we're kind of attached, but over time, Vici Gaming J over the last 2 years has split apart a little bit, and now you've got Thunder, Chinese team, and Storm, North American team, and VGJ Storm is so much Jack's team, Jack being a KBBQ Dota.
Yeah.
The man, that is his team. And, you know, between him, Rezo, Yawar, Snake King, MSS, and SVG, Clairvoyance, sorry, I don't know you, so I'm not including it on that list. Those are 6 people who quite possibly would sell out family members in order to play Dota. Not even win Dota, but just play Dota.
We're not talking about like second cousins. We're talking about
we're talking about like
close relatives. Talking about mom,
I'll
dad, brother, sister.
Like tomorrow, I got a Dota tournament to play in.
Yeah,
they would do that.
Yeah, I mean, but anyway, why I love it. The big reason I love it is because when we were talking about like what do we want to see from Dota at the start of this season of Dota, was I wanted to see more infrastructure, and by breaking up those organizations, you actually provide reasons for players to go to teams and like defined teams. Like having this setup, yes, there will still be the team NPs. There'll still be the team Leviathans. There will still be 5 anchors, no captain. Those kinds of like just naked stacks. Planet Dog. Those kinds of just like unrepentant stacks. But this does offer the opportunity for a lot of the esports organizations that have been a part of that have not been a part of Dota 2, but have been a part of esports as a whole for a long time to get in. This is their opportunity to get their foot in the door, and having the teams have, the big knock has been always that for me, the big knock has always been that Valve has really just gone directly to the players and completely ignored teams. Like if they're inviting Team Liquid, they're not inviting Team Liquid. They're inviting Kuroki, they're inviting Mind Control, they're inviting et cetera, et cetera. They're inviting the players of Team Liquid who happen to be wearing the Team Liquid jersey when they compete, but they're not inviting Team Liquid. By having that extra like kind of like contractual muscle, but not really, by having actual teams be able to own something in a spot in TI8, that's really important in terms of giving a team like a Cloud9, in terms of giving a team like a hypothetical SK Gaming or G2 Esports or one of those guys. This gives them cause to actually be in Dota 2. in a long-term way. And that's what Dota 2 needs to be sustainable over a long period of time. And yeah, it sucks for VG Gaming because, like you said, they've built up 3 really solid teams. But
we could, well, 1, we could see them being sold, or 2, like I said, I would not be surprised at all to see a slight rebrand on one of the 2 VGJ teams and then the other one getting sold. That said, Lord knows what they're doing. Because they have to be scrambling right now for it.
Well, they have time because it has to be before TI 9, so they got time.
I thought it was this. I thought it was this TI.
I don't think it's this TI.
I could have sworn that I heard a thing saying that the teams had to be owned separately by TI8.
I think it's by TI9. You can look that up, but yeah. Regardless, I really think that that's important in terms of giving a sustainable and more importantly consistent product for fans. Like having stuff like Team NP get blown up after TI7. That's not good. You might like Team NP, and seeing everybody get chopped up and just thrown around, that doesn't help fans. And seeing EG get blown up a month ago doesn't. You want to have players and teams that you can get behind, and where they are, where they're going, who's involved. That's good. Having like the infrastructure to make the Dota 2 sustainable for a longer period of time is a good thing, and that's exactly what this does. And I'm very happy that they did this. And like I said, the explanation that they're going to put forward is that it's a matter of conflict of interest, which I can see. I don't necessarily buy it, but I can see it. And yeah, it's really good to open the door to teams in a way that hasn't really been opened, because having the SK Gamings, having Cloud9 actually be able to actually enjoy success over a period of time in Dota 2 is a great thing. And yeah, that's what this does, and that makes me happy because it makes Dota 2 stick around for longer.
I agree.
Did you find a result or not?
I'm digging. I mean, I've got to go to. I had to first of all find Rakum's Twitter page, and now I've got to start scrolling because I got to find it. And the man posts like 4 times a day.
Yeah, he is
on a slow day.
He's active.
He's also like the voice of Dota.
Yeah, he is. New DPC 2019 season. Let's see if I can find it real quick. Yeah, you can say what your take on all that is, because I found the blog post.
Okay, hit me with the blog post first, and then I'll provide.
I already found it. Team ownership and invites. Looking ahead 1 year to the International 2019, in cases where one organization or person has ownership in multiple teams, only one of those teams will be eligible to compete in the International, regardless of DPC qualifying points.
Okay, so 2019. All right. Okay. That will definitely make things interesting. My understanding of it, again, I don't remember when I read it. I wasn't super paying attention at the time, probably, and so I messed up. But anyways, it's interesting. It definitely is going to promote, like in China, having an academy team, not having 2 teams that are both kind of good. Like you're going to really have VG Gaming and or LGD and LGDFY, where FY is not the FY we know right now. FY is a farm team, and I think that will stratify. And in China, that's great. I think that China really could use that. In the rest of the world, where we don't really have that necessarily anyways, it'll be interesting to see how things fall out. I'm also interested to see how, like, technically, if this was going into effect right now, OG and EG couldn't compete together because one of the players of EG owns OG.
Really?
Fly technically has ownership stakes in OG still.
Okay, I wasn't sure how.
I'm not 100 and like.
Okay, I was about to say I don't really know how OG's ownership. The big one there would have been for not teams but having players with interest in other teams' success was last year. PPD and Wanted.
Yeah.
because
that was the example.
Yeah, that where he, as CEO of Evil Geniuses, kind of tried to have his own other side Dota team, and yeah, that was a thing that happened and wouldn't be allowed, and probably shouldn't be allowed.
That's one of the ones that definitely shouldn't be allowed.
Yeah. But yeah, this is a good thing. I am happy to see all this happen. I am hopeful for Dota 2's longevity in a way I wasn't previously, because that does open the door for teams like a Cloud9 who have been burned again and again and again to actually be in Dota 2 and not get screwed over by it. Anyway, we've been doing this for a while now, haven't we?
Yeah. Oh, geez. Yeah.
Excuse me.
Right.
So yeah. Like, comment, subscribe. Click the bell icon. I don't actually know what it does, honestly. But
supposedly it makes you get notified for everything, but it doesn't actually. So
click it anyway.
Yeah, we're hoping that it does. Anyways, yeah, we'll be back for fantasy probably. We'll be back for predictions, and then we'll be back for at least one TI pre-show.
We'll be more active, and I'm thinking we might want to like mix up the show structure to be more.
Yeah.
Not necessarily just take, because we've done it pure esportsy, which isn't bad. There's value in that, but I think we might want to mix up some, like, discuss our crazy pub experiences of the week or something.
Well, especially because we're not going to have a whole lot of competition.
That's true. But anyway, like, comment, subscribe, click the bell icon, follow us on Twitter. It's in the description. Have a great week. We'll be back in the near future.